Welcome back to Grow Your Impact, Income, and Influence, the #1 show helping you reach millions. Today, I have got a guy that's got a huge rhinoceros for his background. You are going to want to pay attention. We are talking about real estate investing in a way that you have never heard about it before. It originates all the way back in 3000 BC. It is buying and selling vacant land. My guest, Brent Bowers, is bringing it to a whole new level. He's going to talk to you about how this method of real estate investing is underutilized. Not very many people are talking about it or doing it. If you don't want to be a landlord, if you don't want to deal with storage units, if you just want to buy and sell some land, or if you want to learn something new, this is going to be a show for you. Brent, how are you doing today?
I'm great. And thanks for mentioning the rhino. We've always got to be charging, and rhinos have 3-inch thick skin, and they take torpedoes on a daily basis. So as real estate investors, as business owners, as podcasters, just remember the rhino, always be charging.
I love it. I love that. I would love to hear, I always ask people, where did this start for you? And I feel like you might have had to take a few shots getting started as a real estate investor, right? Take us back to what did you do before you were a real estate investor, and how do you kind of transition into that? Because I think that's what a lot of people ask, right? They're like, how do I get started? Tell us your story.
I love that you said take a few shots, because I literally just got a shot right before this call. I had a real estate broker, commercial broker, on a 19-acre parcel of land that we're hoping we can develop it, just completely insulting me. And you just got to just not have a big ego, because he's like, I've been doing this for 44 years. And it's just like, that was one of them. That was literally a torpedo this morning that I already had to deal with. And it never ends. But as far as where did this get started, I love your hat, clarity. It really started for me when I graduated high school. I always wanted to be somebody. I knew I wanted to be very successful, wealthy. I don't need all these big toys and stuff, but I just wanted to feel successful and accomplished, because, we grew up, very comfortable. I mean, we always had everything we needed. Our parents both worked very hard. Grew up in a really small house, 3-bedroom, 1-bath. And we didn't ever realize that we were poor or anything, but I just wanted to go a little further than what I grew up. And my parents helped me do that. They always told me, go for it, take the chances, take the calculated risks. So I really owe that to both of my parents, and just seeing their work ethic was just tremendous. So I think it really kind of just starts growing up. And then, my grandfather gave me a riding lawnmower. It was actually a broke down riding lawnmower. And I borrowed the neighbor's push mower and started mowing grass around the neighborhood. So my entrepreneurial spirit started probably when I was in 6th grade, and me and my dad fixed that riding lawnmower, and it turned into a business that eventually he quit his job to come out in. And that allowed me to go and just go for my real estate career that I wanted to do.
So, okay. I love it. Longtime listeners of the show will know that was my first thing, right? I wanted a pair of Air Jordans. I threw a tantrum in the mall because my mom was like, we don't have money for that. I remember sitting on the metal bench, and her answer was, she said, I love you. We don't have money for those shoes. If you want those, you need to go get a job. Same thing. I was in 6th grade. I went home. I think she said it in passing. She was like, that'll teach, he'll just be like, oh, I can't have those. I went home, did exactly what you did. I went and got the lawnmower. I just started knocking on doors. And the next day I went and bought the shoes, and that started the whole process. So
good for your mom. I mean, hats off to your mom. What a champion, just for not buying you those shoes. Even if she did have the money, thank God she didn't.
You are 100% right. I've had that conversation with some people, because it's like, if she would have bought those, who knows? I was still pretty curious. I might have gone out and done something, but it led me down a path. I want to ask you though. I mean, I didn't have my dad quit his job, or my mom, or anything like that, for mowing yards. I would love to ask you, what were some shots that happened to you from the time you started? Because, okay, first you had to repair the lawnmower, but that was a fun project with your dad. But then going out and getting jobs, and because you just had thick skin from that real estate agent that you just talked to, right? Like you had to like laugh him off and be like, whatever, he can be doing whatever he wants for 45 years. I am who I am and I stand firm in what I am, right? So,
Yes.
so how, I want to know what happened from the time you fixed that riding lawnmower to like the end of high school when you started your real estate. Like what lessons did you learn there that have transferred over to being a successful real estate investor?
Yeah, so many. I mean, that I couldn't even count. So first of all, it's just you got to just continuously go out and do it every day. That push mower that I borrowed, luckily that neighbor was kind enough to find me another account to mow, another yard right around the corner from that house. And they allowed me to use their mower for. So really, like if you look back in your life, the success you've had in your life, there's so many people that are involved in your journey. So I really owe a lot of success to that one amazing neighbor that allowed me to use her lawnmower to mow her grass and then the neighbor's grass too. And then I got my mower going and then it just expanded. And before I knew it, like friends of my parents were asking if I could mow their grass. And my parents would drive me around on the weekends. And then during the summertime, even throughout high school, I'd have 2-a-day practices in, my sophomore 10th grade year. So I would be sucking, man. I would have to go to a morning practice in football and then an afternoon practice. I wanted to quit. And I would then go mow grass during the day and I'd be like dehydrated, exhausted. And my dad wouldn't let me quit. He's like, look, your team members are relying on you. So, quitting was always in my mind. Like, I don't need to do all this. So I'll quit the football team. And so just so many lessons. Just don't let your team down. You just got to keep persevering. And then fast forward a little bit further, I was mowing this account and he got a couple months behind. And I'm in I think I'm 16 years old. And I'm like now a couple months into this, and this guy says he's not going to pay me. And that happened more than once. It's like, who the heck would not pay a 16-year-old kid that spent money and gas and time and lawnmower and blades and all these things? And it just happens. Like people get in bad ways and they just write you off basically. So lots of lessons, like just grit, perseverance, and just keep moving forward.
That's awesome. I mean, I want to unpack a couple things. One, hats off to your dad for not letting you quit, but I want to know like the internal conversation, right? So something that I've read in entrepreneur books, I've seen it acted out, is when entrepreneurs, they might not even call themselves entrepreneurs. They might be 12 years old. When they're told no, they figure out how to do something, right? You can't afford that. You can't do that. You can't have X. We don't take no for an answer. The example that I read yesterday was around a hotel room. Somebody was like, a normal person calls up a hotel. And they're like, yeah, we don't have rooms available, or we do, and they're this price. People take no for an answer. They look for an easy way. Entrepreneurs are like, nope, I am staying at the Four Seasons in Paris. I'm figuring that out. And this is how I'm going to do it. And they call back. They call to ask to other people. They look for deals. Like they're like doing it. So I want to go back to when you wanted to quit, what was the internal discussion in your head? Do you remember? Did you like trick yourself? Was it like just 30 more seconds or just one more yard? Or how did you get yourself to go to that next level? Because everybody wants to quit what they're doing at some time in their life. And the successful people are the ones who keep going.
I was never going to quit my business. I wanted to quit the team and the football team because I sucked, man. I was like 150 pounds. I couldn't catch, and I was just getting beat up, and everyone on the team was bigger than me. I was really there for the cheerleaders, honestly. And so my dad put it to me this way: don't let your team down. And I am one of those people, call it a people pleaser, a yes man. I just didn't want to let anybody down. So I just sucked it up and just got over it. But did I play my 11th grade year? Heck no. I did end up not playing the next year, but I didn't quit that year. I finished out the season. What's really cool is we won every single game that entire season. We were JV, and we were undefeated. We had a kick butt team. So we did really well.
That's awesome. I mean, that you can say that you were an undefeated team.
Yeah,
like,
we did.
Because
and I played on defense and offensive line. You know, it's just,
Wow.
I played both. Well, we had a very small team too. There wasn't a lot of options. So that's the only reason why I got that much playing time. But again, I told you, I was not that good of a player.
That doesn't matter. You got the record. So let's fast forward to that story about somebody not paying you. There are a couple really rich questions we can ask around that. The first one is, how internally did you handle that? Did you just take it as a shot and brush it off? Did you let it get you down? Did you talk to your dad? How did you handle that? Do you remember that? Because I know this has happened to several people and they don't know how to handle it and they end up melting from it. How did you keep yourself going?
Well, I'm kind of a scrapper. I don't let things get me down. They say that fight or flight, I'm going to fight. I remember confronting the guy on his front porch. He was a prison guard, kind of overweight. And at 16, I felt like I could take him. And he said, I forget what he said, but it was something smart about how I'm a prison guard. Like, get out of here, boy, quit running your mouth. And I said, I'm 16 and I'll be happy to take you on right now. And he kind of just stopped. I don't think he was expecting me to say that. And just walked back in his house and shut the door. Thank God he did, because I probably would have gotten it handed to me. But I was ready to go head to head with him, and I just walked away. And that was the last time I ever worried about that guy owing me money, because I felt like I had won.
Yeah. Okay. Then I want to move forward. Like, what was the lesson and how did you change income? Like, did you change your billing? Did you start accepting like payment up front? Like, what was the lesson?
Yeah. And I'm so glad that happened to me, because it changed. I did continue billing monthly. So I would bill in arrears. So I would do the 30 days worth of work. And then if they didn't pay on time, like they didn't get their grass mowed anymore, I was not going to allow it that much more. Like that one went, I just heard his sob story. And it amazes me too. It's like, I have my land company. We also flip house. I have my house division. And some of these contractors won't even work a day without like just wanting an advance payment. And I'm like, no. Like, I was 16 years old and I had 15 lawn accounts and I didn't take advance payments. You're not getting an advance payment. It's like, so that stopped me from allowing contractors to rip me off when my friends are getting ripped off. So it taught me lessons.
That's an awesome lesson. I mean, that is very much like you're showing how what you learned in high school allowed you to transfer that into real estate. So let's jump into real estate a little bit. Why land? Why vacant land?
I love that you asked that, because I started with rentals. My first house in 2007 was a rental, total freaking disaster, by the way. Next, I took a break from 2007 to 2013. I pretty much quit. And you notice a pattern here. 2009, I ended up joining the military, going back to school, because I did not see the crash that like you did. I was jumping in right as the crash was happening. And I just got like it handed to me. I moved to the coast, me and my brand new wife. I just purchased a house. I had a real estate license, a rental property. Went from making like $7 or $8 grand a month to nothing, and ended up having to cancel my lease. Got a judgment put on me that I didn't find out for about 2 years about. Ruined my credit, and ended up having to move in with my in-laws. We're living in a 3-bedroom, 1-bath house with 4 adults and 1 small child. And we didn't have a child. It was my wife's younger sister or baby sister. And long story short, I'm getting very humbled at this point, and I need to change directions. And she's out now, my ex-wife, but her grandfather, who I really looked up to, he introduced me to Jim Rohn, not physically, but the cassette tapes. And I transferred them over to CD, and I would listen to these things going down the road. And I'm like, God, I love this guy. Like, he is saying everything I need to hear. And that was part of basically when my self-development journey began in 2008 timeframe. So my wife's grandfather said, join the military, do a reset, and just go back to school. So I did, and I flourished in the military. I was always gone. Did a couple of the women's back to back. in Germany, deployed to Afghanistan twice. And 2013, I was out of the States from 2010 to 2013. 2013, they pulled me out of Afghanistan on my second time and sent me to college to go back to school. And I bought the house right next to the college, start house hacking, and I'm back in the rentals. And then I bought another one 6 months later. And at that time, me and my wife had already split up because I was always gone. So I met a new woman, Emily, my wife now, and it's time to move with the military. I was like, you want to come with me? So we ended up getting married, had a baby, 2016. We just moved across the country, and I've got 5 rentals now, and I'm in crazy debt. Like, cause all these rentals are fixer uppers, and I'm just barely paying over the mortgage. And I'm like, this sucks. Like, this is not how you build wealth. Like, why do people boast about this? And these instructors that wear these Rolexes, like, they're fake. And I was like, there's gotta be a better way to do this. So I started wholesaling houses, and that was paying down the debt. And I did 2 or 3 or 4 of those. But here's the thing: as a brand new Army officers in the military work very long hours. I'm like working 12, 13-hour days. And I don't have time to go and visit these sellers and create rapport with them and figure out how to solve their challenges and buy their house at a discount. So I'm like not doing a lot of deals. I'm spending a ton of money in mail. So I see things changing again, and I'm searching for answers, kind of like the Grow Your Impact, Income, and Influence podcast. Like, I'm listening to great podcasts, and there's this guy on there talking about buying vacant raw land for like pennies on the dollar and flipping this stuff overnight and like doubling and tripling his money. And I was like, holy cow, that is the answer. I mailed the land list the next day. It was a very specific list. My phone blew up. Like, it was just ringing. I did like 2 deals within 2 weeks, and it was all history from there. And I haven't looked back since.
Do you still have the rentals?
A couple of them. A few of them I sold, and I've actually made out like a bandit on several of them. That one I bought in 2007, I should have just burnt it to the ground, honestly. I should have waited till 2023 to sell that one. But some of them, yes, I do actually still have them.
Hey, thanks for taking a moment to check out this episode of Grow Your Impact, Income, and Influence, the #1 show helping you reach millions. Have you ever thought about building your own webinar or using public speaking to reach your ideal audience? Well, if you'd like my help with it, over the last several years, I have built more than 40 live events for clients just like you. In the last 18 months, I've helped 32 entrepreneurs build their webinar with over $5 million in cumulative sales. If you'd like to see how I can work with you, or if you'd be interested in having me speak at your event or be on your podcast, go to steven.coffee, that's steven.coffee, to book a short call with me and see how we can work together. All right, let's jump back to the episode. That's an interesting, because I mean, my real estate journey was, I read Rich Dad Poor Dad. I was like, I'm all in, probably similar to you. Went out and did a couple deals, got a lot of units very quickly, but they, like you, I saw cash flow coming in. I was bringing in like 40K a month, but my total mortgages were like 37. So like at the end of the month, I mean, it was a little bit different than that, but not by much. I mean, I always saw money in my bank account. I was 23 years old. I was like, this is awesome. And I had a lot of equity on paper, right? So I remember, this is like a side story that's hilarious. I had this huge equity line of credit, and I really wanted, you remember Fast and the Furious? Like, I really wanted a Supra. So I went and bought a Supra using a home equity line of credit. Probably a bad idea. Definitely a bad idea. And like, I had that car for less than 3 months because I was like nervous to drive it to the grocery store or like do anything with it. And like, anyway, but it's very similar to you. I was in the game for about 5 years, and at the end of 5 years, I had 63 units, and I was wow. But I was the landlord, I was the plumber, I was the electrician. There was always stuff going on. Some of them were Section 8, so I had to deal with all of that nonsense. Like, most Section 8 people are great, but the ones that are bad, like, man, so I woke up very similar to you in 2006, and I was just like, nope, I'm done. I sold it. I wholesaled everything in about a 2-month period. Ended up with a little bit of cash, but not that much. Nothing compared to the pain I went through. And I was like, nope. So you got lucky. You found raw land. I asked if you still had rentals because I just wondered if you were like, these suck. Raw land's where it
Yeah,
is.
yeah.
But
I
the
do keep them because I need the tax write-off, the depreciation
depreciation.
and the benefits that the IRS gives us by owning buildings. My buildings have gotten bigger. But
Mhm.
yeah, I mean, we now take the cash flowing asset from the land, like the land is
Yep.
cash flowing us, and then we take that money and buy another cash flowing asset that now gives us tax benefits. So
Yeah.
what I love about the land is we got about $40,000 a month coming in payments, but it's all free and clear land. There's no mortgage payment on it.
Oh, that's awesome. That is brilliant. So I don't know how far you want to get into this, but if you're a real estate investor and you're listening to this, what he just said, you bought land for pennies on the dollar and you are getting cash flow coming in from that land. And you're, like you said, ultra specific list. Let's break down, because you said like you mailed the list. I know what you're
Mhm.
saying. If you're listening to this and you're wondering what that is, can you
Yeah.
explain a little bit?
Yeah, I wanted to kind of get it quick. I'm really glad you asked me that. So that ultra specific list, let me tell you exactly what that list was. I contacted, so I was already mailing the tax delinquent houses. So basically you can contact your county treasurer or your tax collector, or some counties post it in the newspaper, and you can see all the people that aren't paying their back taxes because the county wants you to come and pay those back taxes as a consumer or as someone that lives in the county or whatever. You don't even have to live in the same county, and they will give you a return on your money, anywhere from like 2 to 18% in some states. I think Texas pays like 18%. So this land was telling me that, okay, if they're not paying their taxes, they're probably a little motivated, right? And I was avoiding the land. I was only mailing the houses. Well, I thought I was mailing that list that I just talked about, the tax delinquent list. I was actually mailing the county held tax lien list. This was land, or basically all the properties, and I figured out which ones were just vacant raw land, but it was all the parcels or properties that was so inefficient that tax lien investors weren't even paying the back taxes, so the county was stuck with it. Why was it inefficient? Not buildable, not accessible, too small, you name it, like garbage land, wasteland. Well, I sent 687 postcards out to this vacant vacant land list that was county held. And it was like throwing a worm in a little small puddle where it used to be a pond that dried up and the fish are about to die and they're just starving. That's what it was like. I was throwing my little hook with the worm in it in that pond, and my phone just exploded. Like people were calling me like, look, just take the land, or hey, it's yours for $285. I'll sell it to you for 500. And I was just scooping it up. And I was like, wow, man. And I would literally pre-sell this stuff and make quick cash doing it. And as far as what I would mail, I was mailing a simple postcard saying, hey, my name is Brent Bowers. I'd like to buy your land at 123 Main Street, or the
Yep.
APN. And if you're interested in a fair cash offer, call me or text me. And they sure did.
That's awesome. So is that still what you do today?
It's one of the methods. Now I like sending what I call the LOL, the land offer letter, or we call it our laugh out loud letter, because sometimes the sellers laugh out loud because they're insulted by our low offer. And I always laugh out loud when we get one signed back in return, because we just got an asset under contract at like less than 50 cents on the dollar.
Nice. That is awesome. So I know you coach this stuff as well. You teach people how to do this. So where can people contact you? What should people do if they want to learn a little bit more about you?
Absolutely. I started a YouTube channel right at about a year ago, and just go to YouTube, search Brent Bowers, and please subscribe. I mean, that would be amazing. I would appreciate that so much, because I cannot tell you, it's like literally, I think it takes me 20 hours a week to keep this YouTube going with airplane travel and writing the content and filming it. We come out with a video. I film a video, or I'm sorry, I have a video every single day that launches Monday through Friday. That's the
Wow.
fastest way to find me. If you want to schedule a call, just head on over to thelandsharks.com and schedule a call.
Awesome. So we will link the Brent Bowers YouTube channel under this video, under this podcast as well. It is in the show notes. So I want to kind of shift just a little bit. We talked about what makes land so attractive as a real estate investor, which I think is great. And you touched on, there are a lot of gurus out there with fake Rolexes running around telling you what to do. I would love to talk about what do you see in the real estate industry? So I haven't touched real estate. I did a little bit of wholesaling in 2013, 2014, but it was heating up so much back then, and there was a lot of competition, but there was also a lot of that BS floating around. And I was just like, you know what? I'm sticking to what I know, which is speaking on stage, holding live events, and doing marketing. I would love to hear, what is something that you'd kind of like to shine the light on and say, whatever you do, don't do this, because this is, you hear it everywhere, but it's really bad advice. What would you point to?
I was thinking about that, and I have a couple ideas, but the number one thing I would say is, when you're picking a mentor or a coach, or I fell victim to a lot of these programs where I would go and max my card out and go to these events and pay $5,000 for a 3-day. Just make sure those people are actually doing deals. I'm still in my land business. I'm still working in my business. I have a team, thank God, because I couldn't be out here doing this if I didn't have a team. But there's always going to be a challenge to solve. And I'm still in the land business. I'm still in the weeds. I literally walked the property yesterday, a parcel of land that's like a half mile from my house. I'm really excited about that. That's close by, 19 acres. But just make sure the person telling you what to do has actually done it. And here's what's really key, is still doing it. Because a lot of times these guys hang up their real estate buying hat, and now I'm going to do my coaching hat, and they're teaching stuff that's outdated.
Yeah, that's, outdated or doesn't work at all, something they heard somewhere else.
Yes.
I've seen that. There was actually one real estate guy, I won't name him on here, but he was doing demo calls, and the demo call came through, and like the guy, he was acting like he was calling properties, and it was a complete rigged up scam, and he came out on stage, and I was like, oh, that's like, you got to watch that stuff. But there are people out there that are doing this for sure, and that people like yourself, people that are still doing it. And the easiest way is, if you're paying attention to somebody, go see what they're doing. Like, actually go spend time with them. If you're going to spend, this is something that I learned from mentors that I worked with, right? I've spent more than $500,000 in hiring mentors over the last 9 years. That's how I've gotten to where I am. But the way that I tested them is I went and I actually looked at what they were doing in their personal lives, right? Like, I would go follow them around a little bit. Not just follow them on social media, because that's a real easy game to fake, right? But if you go see, if you go see you walking down the street, that's what another thing about YouTube, you can fake video a little bit, but if you're posting every day and you're posting content about being out doing deals, you're showing contracts, you're like running around doing stuff, that stuff is not something that you can fake without a whole bunch of, it would take a lot of work to fake it. And at that point, you just be burning money on something that wasn't worth it. So
that's so funny. I agree. I'm trying to do more B-roll footage. Like, I was out door knocking on properties the other day, and you got to be careful about that, because no one wants a phone or a camera in their face when you knock on their door. So we're like blurring out, but like, it was terrible. It turned out terrible. Like, you could see the video pointing at the ground, but you could hear the conversations. So that's about it.
Yeah, that's a good one. So you touched on door knocking. I was going to wrap this up, but I actually want to touch on this one. So this is something that they taught when we were doing wholesaling. And I went to a boot camp similar to what you're talking about. It was $2,000 for 2 days. And one of the things that they showed us was how to do door knocking. So we were in a group. I was the only person out of 50 people at the boot camp who went out and door knocked. I think I door knocked 8 days. I was doing 2 hours a day. I had a neighborhood list. I was just out knocking. I got 2 people who were willing to have conversations out of that, which I thought was fair. No one else in the group. We came back to like a group meeting, and he was like, who went door knocking? And a couple people kind of raised their hand, and then he started asking questions. And like, one person went out and knocked on 3 doors. Like, that doesn't count as door knocking to me. So let's talk about, this probably goes back to yard mowing for you. For me, it went back in high school. We had those, like, they were like newsprint, and you sold books door to door. And whoever sold the most got like a remote control car. You got some prizes. I would go door knock while I was mowing yards. Hey, do you want your yard mowed? No. Do you want to buy a book? What? Yeah. And I always won those contests. So I'd love to hear, like, door knocking, persistence. What's your thoughts around like, where did that come from for you? And how do you just keep on going, keep the rhino going, keep on dealing with the torpedoes?
Well, I'm very specific in the doors I knock now, because you tell me like you had 8 hours into it and it doesn't sound like you did a deal from it, which is sad. However, you built your rhino skin. My first 2 wholesale properties I ever did was from door knocking, but very specific. Like those people were in Liz Pendens, they were about to lose their house. I also door knock houses where I'm interested in the land. There's like a junker house. We can literally pay them way more than what it's worth. We're going to scrape it and build a few more. But where did it come from? I think the first time I ever door knocked was after the 1992 hurricane. I think it was Hurricane Andrew. I think it was in 1992. My grandmother gave us this wind up radio so we can hear the news when we lost power. Well, after the hurricane, power was restored. I went door to door to sell that radio because we no longer needed it, until somebody ratted me out and called my parents, said I was walking around the neighborhood trying to sell the radio. And then I would start knocking on people's doors that their grass just needed mowed. And I would tell them, look, I'll do it for free. You can try out my services before you buy, type thing. And I would get accounts that way. So that's so funny. I forgot all about that, but I really enjoyed door knocking. Still to this day, because it's free.
I mean, you're pretty personable. I'm pretty personable. It never bothers me. The only place that I had a hard time, I did some door knocking in Vegas, and that was a really interesting place that I would probably not recommend starting. But anywhere in the Midwest, I lived in Ohio, I lived in Michigan, Tennessee. Like, people are pretty friendly. You're going to meet some really cool people, and if you go into it with a open attitude, it definitely, you're right. I had 8 hours in, I had 2 leads, one almost turned into a deal. It ended up not, but it was still the experience, and it didn't bother me at the end of the day. That was my attitude towards it. Wasn't, I have to go out and find a deal right now. It was, hey, we're going to take 2 hours and we're going to go get some exercise. I would walk around anyway. I had some great conversations from it. Really interesting share. Thanks for the story about the radio. That's good.
But I'll tell you, man, you're the only one that took the time. You went out and did the homework. The rest of those guys, they're probably still not successful real estate investors, because it's, if the mentor is saying to do it, and hopefully it was a good mentor, just go out and freaking do it. Like, I teach people all the time. I have created modules. I tell them exactly what to do, and people will text message me and ask, well, what about this? They're just always looking for an easier, better way. And I'm literally showing you everything I've got that's worked for me. So just take the steps, go out and do the door knocking. 8 hours, like, you probably gained so much from that 8 hours. Like, that's like,
well, you gain confidence. I mean, this is what I looked at as a learning experience. It's actually really funny. This is a complete side note. So I have friends who they're app developers. They've built and sold 3 separate businesses. They've done very, very well. They never have to work another day in their life. I was staying with them, visiting them, and I was like, hey, I'm going to go out and do this door knocking thing. Because they were in the Midwest, and she was like, I'm going to come with you. I want to learn how to do that. This is somebody who was under 40, never needed to do another thing in her life to make money. And she was like, I want to learn about that. And she came with me for both, like, the 2 times that I went out, and like, just was a fly on the wall. She started having some conversations, and my attitude towards it was, even if I don't get a deal, I'm learning how to talk about this. Because at the time, my marketing business was doing okay. We were about at the 6-figure mark, but I wanted to do that because I was like, I wanted to invest in real estate because I wanted some long-term wealth gain. And I was like, well, I'll go do this. The worst that happens is I get a door slammed in my face and I don't learn anything. That's not going to happen. I'm going to learn something.
Yeah, absolutely. And most people are very nice. There's only a few nasty people in this world, and it's not you, it's them. They're just having a bad day. So that's awesome. I love hearing that.
That is awesome. Well, Brent, I want to say thank you so much for coming onto the show. You shared a wealth of information. We will make sure to send people to your YouTube channel. If you guys listen to this and you want to connect with Brent, go check out his YouTube. It's in the show notes down below. Thanks for being an amazing guest.
Thank you, Steve.
No problem. To everybody else out there, until next time, take action, change lives, and make money. We'll see you soon. Are you looking to scale your business but trying to figure out how to get your message across? Well, go to storyselling.how to grab my free course that will show you how to discover everything that you need to build your business through stories. These stories work whether it's in social media, email, or public speaking. There are 5 core stories that you'll learn. You'll be able to use all of them by the time you're done with this course. Again, that is storyselling.how. If you enjoyed today's episode, make sure to tune in next time.